Power is quiet, influence is invisible, and the real ones never have to say a word. In a world that thrives on noise and performative self-branding, the term Sigma female has been thrown around like a trendy accessory, used more for clicks than for clarity. But there's a truth most won't say out loud. Being a real Sigma female isn't an aesthetic, it's a mindset, a way of moving through the world with precision, depth, and quiet dominance. The real ones? They don't scream for attention, they don't mimic solitude for likes, and they definitely don't build their identity around hashtags. What sets them apart lives in the subtle details, the choices they make when no one's watching, the self-discipline they hold in private, and the effortless way they own their space without demanding it. This video isn't for the ones pretending to be mysterious. It's for the women who already are, but maybe needed a reminder that they're not alone in how differently they think, move, and lead. So if you've ever felt like you didn't quite fit into the noise of traditional femininity or the Instagram-filtered version of independence, this is your mirror. This is your wake-up call, your fuel, your quiet nod that you're walking a rare path. Take the time, watch until the end, because the world doesn't need more loud personalities. It needs more women who are powerfully silent and untouchably real. Now press play. And don't just relate, remember who you are. Let's dive into it. Number 1. They are intellectual omnivores, constantly feeding on knowledge without flaunting it. Let's talk about one of the most underrated but powerful traits of a real Sigma female. She's an intellectual omnivore. What does that mean in simple terms? It means she's hungry for knowledge, not just in one area, but everywhere. Psychology, history, human behavior, finance, survival skills, art, science, power structures, you name it. She's not just curious. She's obsessed with understanding how the world works, how people think, and how she can sharpen her edge. But here's the catch, she never flaunts it. You won't catch her quoting philosophers to sound smart on social media. She doesn't sprinkle big words into conversations just to impress people. That's what wannabes do. They name-drop Nietzsche or quote Rumi just to look deep, but ask them what it actually means. They're blank, empty, just noise with no weight. The real Sigma female. She reads between the lines. She learns in silence. She applies what she knows strategically. Her knowledge shows up in how she moves, how she speaks, how she solves problems when others freeze. She's the one who catches the pattern before anyone else even realizes there is one. She can read people, spot manipulation, and dismantle arguments, not through volume, but through clarity and insight. Her intelligence is not a performance, it's a weapon, quiet, refined, always loaded, and that's what separates her from the ones who just look deep. She doesn't just collect quotes, she connects dots. She doesn't just know things, she understands how and why they matter. So the next time you meet a woman who listens more than she speaks, who seems to know more than she says, and who never needs to prove her intellect, don't underestimate her. She's already 10 steps ahead, and you won't even see her coming. That's the power of a real Sigma female, and it's what makes her unforgettable. Number 2. They rarely explain themselves because they know 90% of people won't get it anyway. Here's something that sets a real Sigma female apart instantly. She doesn't feel the need to explain herself. Not her choices, not her silence, not her path. She moves with quiet certainty because she already knows. Most people won't get it anyway. She's not arrogant. She's just realistic. When you see life through a different lens, when you operate with depth, strategy, and self-awareness, explaining yourself to surface-level minds feels pointless. It's like trying to describe a galaxy to someone who's never looked up. That's why she doesn't talk to be understood. She speaks to be effective. She chooses her words carefully, speaks less, and lets her actions say what others waste paragraphs trying to prove. She's not withholding to be mysterious, she's protecting the frequency she operates on. Her thoughts aren't for mass consumption, they're for minds sharp enough to catch the signal. Meanwhile, the wannabes, they overshare. They spill everything in captions, monologues, and deep content, hoping someone will validate their complexity. But depth doesn't beg to be seen. It just is. And the real ones, they know that. They don't post their growth, they live it. A Sigma female treats her mind like a vault. Not everyone gets the code. Only the rare few, those who think deeply, move intentionally, and observe quietly, get access. And even then, it's gradual, earned. So when she's quiet, don't assume she's empty. When she walks away without explanation, don't take it personally. She's just conserving energy for the few who can actually meet her where she is. And maybe that's what makes her so magnetic. She doesn't need to be understood to feel secure. She doesn't seek validation to feel valuable. She speaks when it matters, and the rest, she lets the world wonder. That's not mystery, that's mastery. Number 3. They don't market themselves. One of the most powerful things about a real Sigma female, she doesn't market herself. She's not out here shouting about her worth, trying to be seen, or convincing the world she's that woman. She just is, and that's what makes her unforgettable. In today's world, where everyone's trying to build a personal brand, people are constantly pushing their looks, pushing their accomplishments, pushing carefully curated versions of themselves for approval. Wannabes spend more time showing off than showing up. But a real Sigma? She doesn't chase the spotlight, it finds her. Why? Because her presence, her mind, her calm confidence pulls. She doesn't have to prove anything. Her energy does the talking long before she says a word. She walks into a room and instantly shifts the atmosphere, not because she's trying to, but because she's that tuned in, that grounded, that intentional. She doesn't overpost, overshare, or overexpose. In fact, the less you know, the more intriguing she becomes. She understands that mystery isn't about hiding, it's about holding value, keeping some things sacred, knowing that true power is quiet and real substance doesn't beg to be noticed. And the truth is, you can't fake that kind of pull. Wannabes might mimic the look, copy the style, repost the quotes, curate the vibe, but the energy, the depth, the stillness, that can't be copied. That's built, lived, earned. A Sigma female knows her worth, so she doesn't need to pitch it like a product. She knows that the right people, the right opportunities, the right energy will find her, because she's not diluted, desperate, or distracted. She's solid, unshakable, and that's what makes people lean in. So while the world is screaming, selling, and scrambling for attention, she stays rooted, silent, powerful. And that silence speaks louder than anything she could ever say. Number 4. Their confidence is anchored in capability, not affirmation. There's a kind of confidence that doesn't shake, doesn't crack, and doesn't need applause. And that's the kind a real Sigma female carries. Her confidence is built on what she can do, not what people say about her. It's anchored in capability, not compliments. She doesn't need likes to feel worthy. She doesn't need someone to validate her talent, her beauty, or her mind. Why? Because she's tested herself. She's been through the fire. She's failed, learned, leveled up, and she knows what she's capable of. That's a whole different kind of strength. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't show up in selfies with long captions about self-love. It's in how she solves problems under pressure, how she handles setbacks without spiraling, how she walks away from situations that don't deserve her time without explaining herself. She doesn't need to be told she's powerful. She's already proven it, to herself, over and over again. That's why she doesn't crumble when people doubt her. That's why she doesn't chase approval. Because the truth is, she already knows. Outside opinions don't build inner value. Skills do. Experience does. Quiet wins, earned in silence, are what ground her. Meanwhile, the Wannabes, they're hooked on praise. Their confidence wavers depending on who's watching, who's clapping. They perform strength, but it's paper thin. The Sigma female doesn't perform. She executes. She creates, builds, leads, fixes. And even when no one's watching, she's still putting in the work, because she's not doing it for show. She's doing it because that's who she is. That's why her energy hits different. Why people feel her presence without her saying a word. It's not hype. It's substance. So if she believes in herself, it's because she's earned that belief. Not through flattery, but through proof. And that kind of confidence, unshakable, untouchable, unforgettable. Number 5. They observe 10x more than they speak. Here's something most people miss about real Sigma females. They're always watching. While others rush to be heard, to impress, to dominate the room, the Sigma is sitting back, collecting data, quietly, carefully. She speaks when needed, sure, but mostly, she's observing. And not just casually. She's reading body language, tone shifts, micro-reactions, power dynamics, unspoken tension. Social settings are data farms to her, and she's the one decoding it all like a silent intel agent. That's what makes her presence so powerful. She's not just in the room, she's understanding it. Every laugh, every fake compliment, every forced smile. She sees through it. Not in a paranoid way, but in a precise, grounded, strategic way. She knows who's genuine, who's insecure, who's trying too hard, who's silently competing. She maps the energy of a room faster than most people realize they're even being watched. And when she does speak, it lands differently. Why? Because she's been storing the truth while others have been busy performing. She knows exactly when to say something and what to say to make it count. This is what separates her from the loud ones. The Wannabes talk too much, hoping to seem important. The Sigma, she doesn't need to fill the space. Her silence is presence. Her eye contact, her stillness, her awareness. They speak louder than words ever could. She's never just hanging out. She's scanning, learning, sizing things up. So by the time she moves, it's already a calculated step. Not a reaction, but a decision. If you're in the same space as her and think she's quiet or distant, don't mistake that for disinterest. She's probably 10 moves ahead, quietly watching the game unfold. Because real Sigma females? They don't need to dominate the conversation. They just own the insight. Number 6. She walks away before disrespect becomes visible. A real Sigma female has a sixth sense for energy shifts, and when something feels off, she doesn't ignore it. She doesn't wait for someone to cross the line or for the disrespect to explode in her face. She catches it early, the subtle tone change, the delayed reply, the backhanded compliment, the energy that feels just a little too different from before, and when she senses it, she's already gone. No drama, no confrontation, no "we need to talk" speech. She doesn't give warnings or second chances to people who already know better. She simply exits, calmly, gracefully, and without explanation. Because here's the truth. By the time someone openly disrespects you, they've already disrespected you in their mind. The Sigma female knows this. That's why she doesn't stick around waiting for proof. She trusts her intuition more than she trusts someone's words, and people don't always realize they've lost her until it's too late. One day she's present, engaging, attentive. The next, distant, detached, gone. Because for her, the moment the vibe shifts, the trust starts to crack, and she refuses to be around people who think they can almost disrespect her without consequences. Wannabes might stay to argue, to prove a point, to teach a lesson, but not her. She's not here to educate grown people on basic respect. She protects her peace like it's sacred, because it is. She knows her worth. And she knows that real strength is not in how loudly you defend your boundaries, but in how quickly you walk away the moment someone starts testing them. No reaction, no chaos, just distance. So if you ever feel her pull away before things get ugly, know this: she saw the shift. She felt the change. And she decided that was enough. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Number 7. She's not hard to love, she's hard to manipulate. Let's clear something up right now. A real Sigma female is not hard to love. She's not cold, she's not bitter, she's not emotionally unavailable. She's just impossible to manipulate. And that throws a lot of people off. See, we live in a world where charm is used like currency. Smooth talk, fast compliments, grand gestures. They work on most people, but not her. A Sigma female doesn't melt over sweet words. She watches for patterns. She listens with her ears and her instincts, and the moment someone's energy doesn't match their actions, she mentally checks out. People confuse her standards for difficulty, but here's the truth: she's not difficult. She's just not desperate. She's not going to lower the bar for someone who looks good on paper but shows up with inconsistency, emotional games, or surface-level effort. She values peace over passion, stability over sparks, and truth over talk. So when someone tries to charm her, it better be backed with follow-through. Otherwise, it doesn't land at all. And that's what makes people think she's too much or too guarded. But the reality is, she's just already been through enough to know what empty charm looks like. She doesn't hate love. She just refuses to be hypnotized by it unless it's rooted in something real. She's the kind of woman you can love deeply if you're consistent, honest, and emotionally grown. She makes space for love that's solid, not slippery, love that builds, not breaks, love that shows up, not just speaks up. So when people say she's hard to love, they're really saying, I couldn't get past her standards. And that's not her problem. That's her protection. Because the Sigma female doesn't push love away, she just won't let it in unless it's real enough to stay. Number 8. She's kind, not nice. There's a difference. Here's something that trips people up about real Sigma females. They're kind, but they're not nice. And yes, there's a big difference. Being nice is about appearances. It's about keeping the peace, making everyone comfortable, and saying the right thing even when it's fake. Nice is often performative. It puts on a smile even when it's dying inside. It agrees to things it doesn't want to do. It says yes when it really means no, just to avoid friction or seem agreeable. A real Sigma female? She doesn't play that game. She's kind, but she's not about to betray herself to make you feel better. Her kindness is real, but it has boundaries. She'll show you respect, compassion, and patience. But the second you mistake that for weakness or assume she'll tolerate nonsense just to be nice, you'll feel the chill. She doesn't believe in fake politeness. If something doesn't sit right, she won't smile through it. If she's not interested, she won't pretend to be. If you cross a line, she won't keep it cute. She'll calmly, directly, and firmly let you know that's not going to fly. This kind of woman doesn't aim to be liked. She aims to stay in alignment. She would rather be misunderstood than inauthentic. She chooses truth over likability. And that scares people who are used to women folding just to keep the vibe light. But here's the twist. Her kindness actually runs deeper than nice ever could. Because it's rooted in self-respect, not social pressure. She gives from a full cup. She shows up with integrity. She cares without self-erasing. So no, she's not nice in the way the world tries to force women to be. She's not a people-pleaser in lipstick. She's kind with a spine. And that's far more rare and far more powerful. Number 9, she forgives without access. A real Sigma female has one of the rarest strengths. She forgives, but she doesn't reopen the door. She doesn't carry bitterness. She doesn't let pain rot inside her. She lets go, but not to make you feel better. She does it for her own peace. That's the thing people don't get. Forgiveness to her doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean reunion. It doesn't mean we're good again. It means I'm releasing this from my spirit so I can move forward without dragging the weight of what you did. She knows how to forgive with grace, but without access. That's the key difference. Once you've shown her that you can't handle her trust, her loyalty, or her energy with care, she may not come back around. Not because she's holding a grudge, but because she learned. Sigma women don't chase closure from others. They know some people will never apologize. Some will never understand. Some will gaslight, deflect, or pretend they did nothing wrong. She doesn't wait for that. She doesn't need it. Her closure is internal. She sits with the pain. She processes it. She extracts the lesson. And she moves on with deeper boundaries and stronger discernment. That's why people are often shocked when she doesn't reach out again, when she doesn't try to fix it, when she doesn't respond to the "I miss you" texts. Because they confused her forgiveness with softness, with invitation. But a real Sigma forgives quietly, fully, and privately, then locks the gate and throws away the key. She's not petty, she's not cold, she's just done. And that's the kind of emotional maturity most people never reach. So if you've wronged her and she forgave you, be grateful, but don't assume that means you get another seat at her table. She may forgive you, but that doesn't mean you get to sit with her again. Number 10. Never competes where she doesn't want to win. A real Sigma female doesn't show up to every battlefield because she doesn't care to win every war. She's not in competition mode 24/7. She doesn't need to dominate every space or prove she's the best in rooms she doesn't even respect. She never competes where she doesn't want to win. That's not laziness, that's wisdom. Fake Sigmas try to outshine everyone in every situation. They chase attention, recognition, and status everywhere, always needing to be seen as the smartest, the boldest, the most successful. But that energy, it's scattered, desperate, rooted in insecurity. The real Sigma, she's surgical. She knows exactly what deserves her effort and what doesn't. She's not trying to impress crowds that don't align with her values. She doesn't waste energy proving herself in shallow spaces. If something doesn't feed her soul or push her growth, she bows out early. That's what makes her powerful. She's not everywhere. She's not trying to win meaningless popularity contests or climb ladders she never asked to be on. She chooses her arenas, intentionally. And when she does enter a space, it's not just to participate, it's because she's about to master it. This mindset makes people underestimate her at first. They think her silence means disinterest. They think her refusal to fight for attention means she lacks ambition. But what they don't realize is, she's already focused on something bigger, something that matters to her, and when she locks in, she's unstoppable. You'll never catch her chasing validation in spaces that drain her. She knows who she is, and that means knowing what's worth it. So while others are scrambling to compete for everything, she's out here quietly building what actually fulfills her. Not louder, not flashier, just smarter. Because that's the Sigma way. Move with purpose or don't move at all. Number 11. They avoid popularity not out of insecurity, but because it dilutes authenticity. Let's be real. Most people chase popularity like it's a prize. They want likes, followers, attention, the whole package. But a real Sigma female, she walks away from all of it, not because she's shy or insecure, but because she knows the truth. Popularity comes with a cost, and that cost is almost always authenticity. She's not interested in blending in with the crowd. In fact, she sees how the crowd moves, and it often moves in circles, chasing trends, seeking approval, watering down their identity just to be liked. To a real Sigma, that's not just unappealing, it's a trap. She's not allergic to people, she's allergic to noise. And the crowd is full of it, opinions, judgments, comparisons, and expectations. All of it drowns out who you really are. And for her, that inner clarity, that deep sense of self, it's sacred. She'd rather protect that than become a diluted version of herself just to gain followers, fake friendships, or surface-level praise. And here's the thing, she could be popular if she wanted. She has the charisma, the intelligence, the presence, but she knows clout without clarity is hollow. It makes people loud but directionless, seen but not known. That's why you'll find her moving in her own lane, doing meaningful things quietly, building without broadcasting. She doesn't need a spotlight to feel seen. She sees herself, clearly, fully, unapologetically. And ironically, that's exactly what makes her magnetic. People feel the realness. They sense the difference. But she doesn't let that pull her into the crowd. She stays rooted, focused, untouched by the noise. So if you've ever felt out of place in a popularity-obsessed world, good. That might be your signal. The real ones don't chase clout, they chase clarity, and that makes all the difference. Here's the truth, you don't have to scream to be powerful, and a real Sigma female knows that better than anyone. What separates her from the noise isn't her style, her silence, or her mystery. It's her substance. The way she moves with intention. The way she stays rooted even when the world's spinning fast. The way she refuses to shrink, chase, or perform. She doesn't need to wear a label to prove her depth. She is the proof. She's done the inner work. She's taken the hits, learned the lessons, and built her self-respect brick by brick. That's what gives her that quiet magnetism, that unshakable edge. Wannabes copy the outer shell, thinking that detachment, aloofness, or rebellion makes them Sigma. But real Sigma energy isn't about trying to be above everyone. It's about knowing you're not in competition with anyone. You don't earn this title through aesthetics. You earn it through choices, through restraint, through self-trust, through the decision to walk away when it's easier to stay silent when noise would be easier, to stand alone, not for ego, but for alignment. So if you're a woman on that path, keep going. You don't need to prove anything to the world. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You're not here to be liked by the masses. You're here to be undeniably true to yourself. And that's rare. That's valuable. That's Sigma. Protect it. Refine it. Own it. The world doesn't need more polished personas. It needs more women who are unshakably real.